Hello, hello, hello. Patricia here, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, but more specifically here in the very far north of Alaska. Welcome, glad to have you. I am going to show you a card today that is a fun fold card. I like fun fold cards. I think you figured that out if you've watched my channel very much at all. If you have not, I would love it if you would share this video, if you would like it, if you would make a comment. All those things help me to grow my channel, and that's what I would love to do, of course. So, welcome. We are going to make a card somewhat like this. This is just my template, and on the back of my templates, I don't know if you have seen my templates before, my fun fold cards. I have a whole stack of them, and as you can see, they're usually black and white, maybe with a little bit of color. But this one is white. Don't ask me why I changed it. I just did. It was the cardstock I pulled out. But I put these fun folds in here with the measurements all done so that when I'm ready to go make a card, I can pull these out and I can say, okay, this stamp set would go with maybe this one. I think it'll go with this one, okay? You know, and I've got the measurements there. Now, usually I do put them on the back just so that it doesn't get in the way, but it doesn't really matter, okay? So, this is the one we're going to make today. I encourage you to make yourself some samples like this. Use the cards that I make and come up with your own samples so that when you are ready to make a card, you've got everything you need right there. You don't have to go reinvent the wheel kind of thing. And this is the stamp and die bundle that we are going to use. I've got a lot of the cards already on on blocks. This is the stamp set itself, Sending Love. A little love from me to you, a little note to say I miss you, mail. This one says Sent with Love, Welcome Friend, a postage mark, a little envelope, the bird, the hearts, another heart. And then over here on the left, you know, do you remember when they used to do airmail and they had that red and white stripe? Well, that's, or maybe red and blue, I don't remember. But anyway, there we go. Then there's also the dies, and I know I have the dies here somewhere. I just don't know where they went. Ah, here they go. Okay, so here are the dies. Now, let me show you some of these. These are fun. This one cuts okay, so it's open like this. It cuts a little post box with a door that opens with a movable brad. Now this one is way big. I cannot find my little black and white ones, and so I just grabbed one here at school. But you glue that down. I wanted to show you that the brad goes in there, and then your little arm that says you've got mail is movable. And then there's also a post for it to go on, so I would glue that in like that. And then there's an envelope. Not sure where the envelope this is. This is the envelope, and it's got 4 pieces that fold up. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Here we go. So then you put your little envelope inside the post box and they can pull it out. Now that's just too cute for words, but we're not going to do it this time, okay? I did want to show it to you, though, because I just adore it. It's so adorable. But what we're going to do is this one. And I'll show you this here in just a moment. We're going to finish coloring that, but we're not quite ready for it yet. So let's look at the fun fold itself. First of all, let me pull up my paper trimmer and my piece of paper. This is a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and I am going to put it in with the short side at the top And I am going to score. I'm going to get my cutting blade out of the way. I don't want to accidentally cut anything. And I am going to score the whole page all at once. Even though I only need 1/2 of this to make my card, I can prepare to make 2 at the same time. So I scored at 1 inch. I need to get my measurements. I need to score at 2 1/4 inches. Put that in there, 2 1/4. There we go. Make sure everything is well lined up. Do not use the cutting blade. Be sure to use your scoring blade. Then 3/8 of an inch. If you have a Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer like I do, it is the second mark after the 3, and 4 1/4. Okay, so there we go. Now I have scored. Can you see those score marks? I hope you can see those. I'm not going to fold it yet. I'm going to put it in here and cut the whole thing in half. Okay, this time I will use the paper trimmer part of it. And now I've got 2 card bases already scored, ready to go. I'm going to put that, oh no, I'm not going to put that aside. I've got to make 2 more little cuts. I'm going to put the the scored in up at the top of my paper trimmer, and I'm going to go to 3 1/2. And at 3 1/2, I'm going to move my cutter up to this end. I'm just going to cut from the edge to that first score line. Okay, so I'm going to cut, and I can tell if I look at my blade, there's a little mark right here in the middle, and that's where it will start and end. So I am going to look very carefully and come right to that score line. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to move this over to 4 1/2. I am going to come down at 1, 2, 3, the third space, or after the second score line. I'm going to push my trimmer blade right down into the paper and drag to that third mark. I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to put that aside. Now, I haven't finished. What I'm going to do is I just made these 2 cuts. I need to make these 2 angled cuts so that I have that. Okay, so what I'm going to do that, I'm going to bring in just a piece of cardboard. This is one that comes in the back of a 12 by 12 DSP Designer Series paper. And I am going to use this little kit that you can get to go with your Take Your Pick tool. There are various tools that you can get for it. I'm going to undo this one. I could put in this one. Now this one is really cool if you want to make something that has a tear-off piece. Like maybe you want to make a card that has a tear-off bookmark. It'll still be attached, but it can tear off very easily. So we're not going to use that one. We're not going to use this one that is just another pokey end. And we're not going to use this one that has a pokey end that you can use maybe to poke out die pieces or, you know, whatever. But we do want to keep the lids on them. We're going to use this one that is a blade. Now I'm going to put the cover back on, okay, because I don't want to cut myself. I'm going to put it back on, and then I'm going to put it back in my Take Your Pick tool. There we go. Now I can pull that off, and I'm going to use a metal ruler, and I'm going to connect the dots, so to speak, from the edge of one and the edge of the other little cut that we already made. I am going to drag that up. I want to make sure that it cut. It did. That cut is already there. Then I'm going to go from the edge of this cut to the corner, right here where my card is going to fold. I want to get that pretty much on there. And there we go. This piece will come right out. Okay, so I can throw that away or do something else with it if I want. I want to be sure to put my cover back on there. I don't want to be cutting myself. Okay, now that I have all of this done, whoops, this way, had to figure out how the card goes. Now I can do my folds. I'm going to get my bone folder and I'm going to make those folds nice and crisp with my bone folder. Fold it. Not score it, what do you call that? Burnish it. Burnish those lines. Fold it. So I'm just making mountain valley, okay? And here we go. Now I'm ready to start assembling my card. Let's put everything away. Get it out of our way. There we go. And we have, whoops, let's move our cardboard too. Okay, so I have my pieces that are going to go in here. Now I've got one that goes in the back. If you ever cut and you've got this tiny little ridge on there, you can take your bone folder and just smash it out. And now it's not even there. Okay, sometimes I see that and it's like, I don't like that. The other option is to just turn the card over. Now, I could, for this back one, put a white piece in there or any other color, whatever floats your boat. Okay, then I'm going to have one here and I'm going to have one on the front. Now, I've kind of been playing with this. You could also do a smaller front piece to go on there. Whatever look you want this to have, whatever works for you. And I haven't really decided which one I want, but I think I'm going to go with the bigger one. And, oh, no, I do want this. And it's going to be something like that. Okay? All right, so let me show you what those are. Cardstock, the same color, 3 1/4 by 2 1/4, or 3 1/4 by 3. Whichever one you want, or even something in between. 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. That's this middle one, the middle one. And then the back one is 5 1/4 by 4 1/8. So those are my pieces. I'll show you this again when we get done, when the card is done, so that you can take a screenshot or something like that if you would like. We, on this one, are going to put our little post box. Now, I could put another white piece on here, or I could put a designer series paper, and I do have the measurements for that, but I'm thinking, you know, they both have their own look, so it doesn't matter what you do. It's entirely up to you. It's your card. I am going to sit down, so I'm going to move my table down a little bit. Been having troubles with my back. I know, it's a terrible thing. So I'm going to put my table down just a smidgen bit, and we're going to start working on this. Now, what I did here is I stamped my card on my post box on crumb cake, and then I cut it out. I've heard a lot of comments lately about the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, so I do want to show you that. As a matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and stamp it again just real quick since I've got it out. And where's my black ink? I did stamp in Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and so let's, have a lot of ink right there on that corner, so I'm going to stamp off on that first. Hold on one second. Got a lot of ink right there. I don't want that. And it's still got a lot, so I'm going to clean it off on my scrubber. Let's get that off of there. That's too much ink. There we go. Let's get it again. Try it again. I just re-inked this, and I pressed too hard is what I did. So, there we go. Okay, looks good. Now, I'm going to put this on here. Okay, don't press too hard. You don't want to smash it through the table. You're just trying to get ink to transfer. There we go. Looks good. I'm going to clean it off again. I already showed you the chamois. I can also use this one, the Stampin' Scrub, and I have basically a wet side and a dry side. So I put it in there, I scrub it, and take it to the dry side. It's up to you which of these you prefer, okay? It's entirely your own personal preference. But let's get back to the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to open this up. I love how those sides open up so that it has a small footprint when it's on my desk. And then I just put the plates, which come with it, underneath, and that's how I store it. Okay, so let's put those in there. Let's put this in here. Let's grab our die, which is right here. And when I line it up, I like to use, let me grab it, a, what do you call these things? Whatever these things are called. Post-it note. I line it up, and then I put the Post-it note on there so that my paper and die don't shift. Then I put this in here. Now, what I'm doing is I am not lining these all three up at the same space. As a matter of, in other words, even here. And what I've heard is put longer, so longer, shorter, longer, like this. So it's poking out, it's recessed, and it's poking out. And that allows it, for some reason, to grab a little better. As long as they're not all three lined up, I don't seem to have any trouble at all with it. And then just start it through. Cut. Sorry, it's shaking. This table is wonderful because I can raise it up and lower it down, but it does shake. Okay, so there we go. Pull it out. And now I have my wonderful little post box. Isn't it cute? Too adorable. Okay, so let's put that all aside and close this up because I just like to be neat and tidy with it. Store everything away. Okay, now we are going to color this. Now, I've already started this one, so I'm not going to pick this one up, but I am going to tell you what I did with it. First of all, this is crumb cake. So I took my crumb cake blends. I started with my light crumb cake. If you look on here, it's light crumb cake with the painter end, not the marker end. Okay, and now, look at this. You can see where I stopped right there. But it's the same color, and that is one of the things about Stampin' Up! That I absolutely love, is all the color coordination. And so, I'm going to continue from there. I'm going to color my post. And I'm not trying to make it terribly dark. I'm just trying to lay down a little bit of extra color. And you can see how it's going to lighten up. It's already doing that. Okay. Then I'm going to take my dark, also with the painter end, and I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in here. Okay. Because that shadow is being cast by the box above it. Okay. I'm just going to give it a little bit of shadow there. A little bit of shadow. Oops, I went too far there. That's okay. A little bit of shadow here. Okay. And then maybe just a little bit down there, okay? Maybe even a line right there. Just the tiniest little bit so that it delineates it and makes it visible. Then I took my real red and I colored my flag. Now obviously this one that is much smaller does not move because it's all of one piece, but that's okay. Then I took my old olive, the light one, and whoops, and I also took the painter end and I colored my grass. I just gave it a little bit of color, okay? Now I'm gonna take my dark old olive and I'm going to fill in all this down here at the bottom. Now it looks pretty dark right now when I've done that, but it's going to lighten up quite a bit and really look very nice. Then I took my black, my dark basic black, and this is the pointy end, and just colored inside that little dot. Now I had colored this black, I can't remember what the top thing on a post box is called, but I had colored it black and I did not like that. So I just did a total new one. But there we go. I have got some black ink because I did not cover it on my arm. So I need to clean it real quick before I get it all over my stamp. I mean my card. Oh my goodness. I just totally got my arm in that ink. That's why it's a good idea to close your ink pads. And do I follow my own advice? Okay, usually I follow my own advice. All right, so my little post box is done. Isn't that just too cute? Let's start putting this together. Now, I am going to before I put it together, I am going to stamp on these pieces. I'm not going to use the smaller one. I talked about I could do a smaller one. I'm going to use the little bit larger one. And I am going to stamp on these. Now, what I want to do here is place this base one where I want it to go so that I can stamp, whoop, it helps if you stamp it right side up, stamp this one, okay? And I will have to stand up to do that. And now I need to pull that ink out again, okay? This paper, by the way, is Azure Afternoon, I think it is. And something like that. I'll look and see it in just a second and tell you for sure. Now, I stamp it before I glue it in because, no, Tahitian Tide. My bad. Tahitian Tide. Okay, so I've got it there. A little love from me to you. Aw, how sweet. And I need to clean that, so I'll do that in a few minutes. Then, I think, let's see, we're going to put this here, and I want this right about here. I want it to hang off a little bit here and a little bit there. So I think right here, I am going to put Sent with Love right there. And I think I'll do some hearts on that side. Now, I don't want to make it too busy, so I may not do the hearts, but I definitely want to do this. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I've got ink on there. There we go. Maybe even turn my hearts a little to the side. There we go. I like it. Nice. And I think I will leave that one there. So this will go here. Then, whoops, thought I had this one in here. This one will go here. And I think on it, I am going to do I Miss You. Now, I want to tell you this. Normally, when you put the backing on a stamp like this, it's shaped the way the stamp is shaped. Well, when it's round, you can't do that. And if you notice, this I is right here. Whoops, you can't tell that. Well, I can tell. I know that I need to go a little to, here it is right here, a little to the left. So, I also want this, though, to be behind this. So, I'm going to put right there. Okay, there we go. Nicely done. I'm going to put some, these things right here. There we go. I like it. All right, let's see what we've got. If we start putting this together now, let's put this back up where it belongs, this where it belongs. There we go. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so we could obviously put more stamps on there. I think I'm going to do the hearts maybe on here, but I think I can stamp those after I put everything together without being too off. So I'm going to put my glue here. I went just a little bit too low, so I'm going to scrape that off. There we go. Now the thing I like, woohoo, just tossed it on the floor. The thing I like about my green glue, or Tombow Mono, whatever it's called, liquid glue, is it gives me a little bit of time to move things around if I don't get it exactly where I want it. The problem with it is it gives you too much time to move things around if you don't get it exactly where you, or if you got it exactly where you want. So you do need to be aware of that, but I've got it on there. I think we're doing good. I'm gonna go ahead now. As I put this on here, I notice that I want this out here, so I don't want glue to go on the end of that, and I don't want glue to go at the top of this. So everything else can have glue. So I'm going to put some glue on there. I don't want to go too high up, nor too far out here. Woohoo! At least it didn't fall down upside down. I need to put the lid on that ink again. Okay. Here we are. Let's put this on here. There we go. I could have moved that stamp a little further to the right. And I think, nope, we did just fine. Okay, very good. I like it. All right, let's go with our second one. We're going to put it in there. I like putting the glue on here because now I could, if you don't like the mono glue, you could do this. Put it here. The thing is, once you've put it, you're stuck with it. Okay, so I don't want it to impede that fold. There we go. And we're good. Now let's fold it and see how we're doing. Oh, looks very nice. The nice thing about it all being the same color is you don't usually have any trouble if things are not exactly the way you wanted them. You know, let me fold that again. I mean, give that a score. Okay, and then we'll put this in here. I will go ahead with my Tombow because I want to glue the whole thing down here. Okay, so get that in there. And again, I've got a little bit of time. If it's not exactly where I want it, make sure it is. Looks nice. All right, I do think I want some of those hearts up here and maybe even above. Okay, so right in there above where my post box is. So